South Dakota Senator Mike Rounds serves on two of the most significant committees in all of the Senate, Armed Services and Intel, and joins us now. Welcome, Senator. Thank you for being with us. What's the difference between the private meetings that we don't have a window into and then the public hearings that are yet to come? What are senators likely to want to get from these private meetings with nominees?
Well, thanks. Yeah, look, there really is a difference between them. To begin with, on the Republican side, we'll sit down with them, we'll get to know them, we'll explain to them a little bit about what's going to happen in the open hearings, but we'll also kind of share with them some of the questions that they might very well get, some from Republicans, but along with that, some of the tougher questions that they're going to face from our Democrat colleagues. So really, in a way, we're trying to give them a heads up as to the issues that they're going to have to face, the challenges that they're going to have, the way that it's going to be approached in the open hearings, and if they've got questions about particular areas, offering to assist them with it, but more along the lines of opening up, providing information to them, but asking questions so that they can hear some of them perhaps for the first time. On the Democrat side, if they decide that they want to go in and visit with the Democrats beforehand, and I've suggested that they do that, they'll hear from the Democrats in a private setting a lot of the same things that they're going to hear from them in a public setting. And, it's always good to be prepared. It's always good to be in a position to have done a little bit of extra homework to maybe hone in on the areas that are of concern. So in the private sector, in the private settings that we have right now, it's a great opportunity to get to know the folks, make them feel comfortable, but then also give them, as they say within the constitutional things, advise and consent. Well, the advice in some cases goes directly to the candidate about things they can do to improve their odds of looking good in front of the American people and being in a position to get a more easier confirmation process.
Clearly, by your committee assignments, national security is extremely important to you. So what are you looking for in a Secretary of Defense or a DNI or CIA director? What is Mike Rounds with the two committees that you're on? You're all about public safety and national security. So what are you looking for?
Within the Department of Defense, I want to know whether or not they see the big picture, whether or not they get the idea that we have to be lethal and that our focus has got to be on lethality. And that means from the top down. We're probably going to end up, if we ever end up in a major war, heaven forbid, where we have not just our assets at risk, but we've also got young men and women at risk. I want to make sure that they understand that having strategic weapons systems that are capable give our kids the edge. And I never want to see our kids going into a fair fight. I always want us to have an advantage, and that means having a Department of Defense that is focused in on being the absolute best in giving our kids that advantage. And that means in all 5 domains: air, land, sea, space, and cyberspace. We've got to be able to control all of them. And if we do, and if our adversaries are aware that we do, we may very well avoid having a confrontation and save lives. On the other hand, if it looks like we're focused on the wrong stuff, if we're focused on the political stuff and so forth, then unfortunately, we lose our foresight with regard to what we need to keep us out of that battle, and we get away from being a lethal fighting force. With Pete Hegseth, I could see that he has been through it. He clearly understood the need to be a lethal team, and he had been on the ground. He knew some of the shortcomings that we had, and he also understands the need that we try to stay out of the wars as well. So those are the types of things we look at with regard to the Department of Defense.
All right, nominees may have different personal opinions or beliefs from the president, but they have to yield those opinions and do what the boss says. So how can you test that ahead of time, the humility to follow instructions, even if you have a different personal view?
Well, there's 2 parts to this. First of all, if you're wearing a suit and tie and you're in charge of a department, whether it be something within Intel or if it's something within the Department of Defense, you're going to follow orders from the commander-in-chief. You're going to follow the orders down through the political chains. It's a little bit different than a person that's in uniform who is responsible and not responding, but rather responding to specifically the orders given. Those folks don't make policies. The guys in uniform, or the guys with the suit and tie on, they make policy. And there's a big difference there. And so the one thing that I want to know is what kind of policies are you going to talk about? And what type of background do you have? The policies that you may very well want to include Have they been vetted with the president? Have they been vetted with other members of the team that may have a different point of view? Are you a team builder? And those are the things that we ask, but we also ask them specifically about issues that they've said or comments that they've made in the past. We'll talk to them about their own experiences and make sure that they're prepared to respond accordingly in an open committee hearing. You know, the vast majority of these folks coming through from the president are going to have solid Republican support, but they're also going to be in front of the American people. We want them to look good in front of the American people. We want the American people to have confidence in their leadership and in the team that the president's building. That's what this is all about. So the early meetings that we do are designed to help these folks get in a better position to look really good in front of the American people.
Senator, I hope the nominees take you up on your advice and go sit down even with people that are not going to vote for them. You may learn something, you may neutralize them. There's no downside in talking to people, even if they wind up not voting for you. I hope they take your advice, and I certainly appreciate you joining us on a Sunday night.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.